Hey firm owners, I don't know about you, but for my firm, my employees were making this mistake one too many times where I actually had to create a visual to fix this. And this involves the client's SEP IRA contribution, where my employees, they were forgetting either to even tell the clients that they qualify for a SEP IRA contribution, or they even forget to even mark it on the tax return. So I created this 5-step visual that's going to allow employees to follow and make sure they're communicating with the client clearly, but also reporting it onto the tax return. And here's the 5-step visuals that I created right here. The 5-step visuals to help clients with their SEP IRA. And the first thing we want to do is know their eligibility. We want to make sure we get a yes, yes, no. The first question is the client self-employed? If that's a yes, then that's good. We move on to the next question. Does the client have business profits? Remember, yes, because SEP IRA is only allowed on business profits. So we want to make sure that we get a yes. And does the client have full-time employees? And this is a question that gets forgotten a lot by my employees, is that they forget if the client even has full-time employees. So if the client does have full-time employees, we need to make sure that we follow the rules when it comes to SEP IRAs. But the easiest thing is that as long as they don't have full-time employees, then we can move on to the next one. So if it's a no, then we can move on to step 2. The second step is that we want to calculate 3 different things. The first one is we calculate the total net profit, because that's how we're going to get the maximum SEP IRA contribution calculation allowed. But one thing that always gets missed, or a lot of times gets missed by my employees, is that we need to make sure we calculate the tax savings based on how much they put into their SEP IRA, because I like to give clients a choice on making sure how much they want to put into their SEP IRA. It's not put in a max or nothing, right? And I think that's part of the communication problems with my employees and our clients, is that they just tell the clients the max, and the client thinks that, oh, it's either the max or nothing. So I want to make sure that the client understands, okay, if they put in the max, how much do they save in taxes based off of that? But what if they put in half? How much should they save off of that, right? And we give them the choice. We give them the opportunity to make that choice where, okay, maybe they don't want to max out their SEP IRA this year. Maybe they only want to put in 25%. So they know exactly how much to put in and how much tax savings they get for each one, and they can compare their options. And once we get all that math comparison in, now we go to step 3. This is where we talk to the clients. Super important that the employees are making sure that they are talking to the clients and communicating with the clients. The first thing is letting the clients know how much they could contribute into the SEP IRA and giving them the option of the maximum 50% or 25%. I usually do these 3 amounts, and then we could always tailor it to what the client wants later on. But I just give them these 3 samples right now with the tax savings for each one, so they know exactly how much they could save if they put in a certain amount. And the second thing is that we need to make sure the client knows the due date, because sometimes, this only happened once, where the client got mixed up on the due date, where they thought that the extension deadline was their due date when we actually filed their tax return before the April 15th deadline. So that caused some confusion, but making sure the client knows that they need to make this contribution by the due date. And the fourth thing is that client confirms the contribution. We need to make sure that the client is communicating back to us saying that, yes, I made the contributions, because I've had problems where employees told the clients how much to put into their SEP IRA, and for some reason just assume that the client will put it in, even though the client never said yes or no, never responded back whether they're going to do it or not. It's just that the employee just assumed that the client will put the contribution, so they marked the contribution as a SEP IRA contribution on a tax return, when in fact the client never made that contribution. So super important to make sure that employees are getting this confirmation that clients are putting that money in, and actually by the due date. And the 5th one is making sure that we put the actual contribution inside the tax return, and it shows on the actual tax return. One big problem that I have with employees is that, maybe let's just say we have the husband, that's a taxpayer, and we'll put the wife as a spouse. And let's just say the spouse is the actual sole proprietorship, is the business owner, right? And in the CERT, there's 2 sections. There's contributions for taxpayer and contributions for spouse. Now, employees will tend to automatically put it on the taxpayer side for some reason. And if they input it into the taxpayer side, but the spouse is actually the business owner, it's not going to show up on the tax return. But in the employee's head, they actually inputted it but they just never checked it, whether it flowed into the tax return or not. So that's a big problem, where we want to make sure that not only are you inputting it, but actually that you see the contribution amount being flowed over into the tax return, and it's the right amount as well. So these are the 5 easy steps that I created to make sure that the employees have everything that they need to communicate properly to the client. And this is one of those trainings that I do once in a while, maybe once every 2 or 3 months, just as a quick reminder that they have to follow these 5 steps. I know they know it. They definitely know it. They're professionals, they're tax professionals. It's just that when time gets busy, sometimes you forget little things here and there. So I want to make sure that I repeat this training over and over again with the tax professional, with my employees, making sure that they cover every single one and they understand why they're doing it. And of course, if you want this visual right here, I have it available. Just comment SEP inside the comment section. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, it's probably going to be in the description. And then also know that I do have e-learning courses available. So check that out. I think it really helps your employees out when it comes to training. And my goal is that we do this training more often than what I think most tax firms are doing with their employees, is that we have to make sure that we do consistent training, not just send them over to CPE courses once a year and hope that they remember everything. We want to make sure that training is consistent and continuous to make sure that it gets in their head and that they get comfortable with it, and making sure that they are confident when it comes to talking to clients about SEP IRAs or anything tax related, right? And what I like to do is, when I take this visual right here, and the way I train is I like to make it into a game. So this is what I would do, is that we would pop this onto the screen. I would have some of these that are blanked out, and then we'll just fill in the blanks. We're making sure that everyone understands what is it that they need to do next. And that's just a fun way. We keep scoring, we have prizes at the end. But definitely, if you want this visual, you have to comment SEP on IG. If it's on Facebook or YouTube, you'll get this in the link provided. But other than that,